Dear students, in this video lecture, we are going to discuss about hard disk drive, that is HDD. Well, what is the structure of this hard disk drive, and what are the different terminologies associated with hard disk drive? As in the previous lecture, we have discussed about the primary storage devices and the secondary storage device. As hard disk drive is the secondary storage device, and it's a very important drive because it is there in the computer and it stores the data. Whatsoever data we want to save in the computer, we generally store this data on the hard disk. So you see this figure 1, that is hard disk drive. Now you see there are certain circular plates are there, then there is a spindle or a rod is there, an arm is there. This is the structure of this hard disk. We also have seen the figure in the previous lecture also. This is internally how we see the hard disk. This single plate, circular disc, which is called platter, it is magnetized. It is magnetically coated from both the sides. So we can store data on both the sides of this plate. Okay, and there are different, this is the arm, this is arm assembly. This arm assembly is having read-write heads over it, which are helpful in reading the data from the disk. That will come across later. And this is the figure. This is how hard disk internally looks like. Okay. Now we'll come across the different terminologies. Terms to understand the hard disk. That's it. So let us discuss some terms in order to understand the hard disk. This hard disk, these terms gives the idea regarding the structure of hard disk and its functions and the measurement of its performance. First of all, track. It is a circular path on the surface of the disk which stores the information on the disk from which the information is read. In figure 1 in the previous page, T is track on the disk. You see this here. This T is the track. This whole circular ring is a track. Okay, this whole circular ring is a track. As we also have discussed, this single plate is having so many tracks. This is one track. There could be another track like this around this, and there could be another track. These concentric rings, circular rings, they all are known as tracks on which the data is stored. Now, there is another term called sector. It is a minimum storage unit of a hard disk. A sector is a division of track as depicted in figure 1. The S is a sector. Now you see this whole track is further divided into subunits of equal density. That's important. And this is the smallest unit of storage on the hard disk, because this sector, this is the sector, this is another sector, this is another sector, then this is another sector, this is another sector, sectors, and all these sectors, they are of equal density. They will store equal amount of data. So this is the smallest unit on hard disk drive. You see this whole disk, this whole platter is further divided into different tracks, all the concentric circles like this. This is one of the track, and there will be another track around this. There could be another track around this, and further these tracks are divided into sectors. Now, after these sectors, we come across a term cylinder. A cylinder is a set of all tracks of equal diameter in a hard disk drive. The C is the imaginary cylinder in the figure. Now this is important to understand. If you see this, this is one of the, this is one track on one platter. On the second platter there is another track, and on this platter there is another track. Now you see this whole set of tracks with equal diameter from the center. This is spindle. This is the spindle, a rod. From this, if you see this as a center of these tracks, from this equal, from this particular, if you see from this particular point at the equal diameter, and from this to the equal diameter, we will having a number of tracks, track from this platter, track from this platter, and track from this platter. These combination of tracks will form a cylinder like structure, imaginary cylinder like structure. If you see this, if you see all these circular rings around the spindle of equal diameter will form a single cylinder. This is C cylinder. This cylinder C. Cylinder C means a cylinder of diameter of this size, from this point to this point, from this point to this point, and to this height. This whole set of tracks will form a single cylinder. Similarly, we can have different another cylinder of different diameter. That could be somewhere here, some track of a bigger size than this one, and on the same on this one, and same on this one, and that will form another cylinder of different diameter. So this is the cylinder. Spindle, it is a shaft that holds the platter of hard disk on plate. Now you see, this is spindle. It will hold all these plates. It shall be holding all these plates and shall be rotating these plates when somebody requests for a data, and that data is stored somewhere on the platter, on different platters. It could be anywhere. Data you are seeking, it could be here, it could be here, it could be here. And if you want to seek the data of this sector, that your data what you have requested is stored somewhere here on this sector, and this sector is where it is in this cylinder, this C cylinder, and the second plotter, and there is another track, and this track there is a space called this S. And now you will see, to move this sector under this arm, this is read write head, because this is read write head, this is read write head, this is read write head, and for reading the data or writing the data, this head is used. Now to rotate this sector under this head, this spindle helps you to rotate that this hard disk, to bring that under this head, and will read the data. So this spindle helps you rotate the disk and holding the disk, holding the platters. Now you see platter. A platter is a circular magnetic plate on which the magnetic data is stored. It stores the data on both the sides of this circular plate. I have already told you that thing. So data is stored on both the sides of the platters. So this is platter. This is a platter. This is another platter. This is another platter, and the data is stored on both the sides of this platter. Now there are a few terms which are very important to understand while you are working with hard disk drive or for the performance of the computer system. Now first of all, you are having seek time. See, the time required to position the read write head on the proper track. This time gap is also known as seek time, because the time required to position the read write head on the proper track mean, you see, this is the read write head, this is your read write head, and time taken to position any track which you want to read the data, time taken to bring that data under this head, read write head. That whole time is called seek time. Getting the point? Because it may be lying somewhere, not directly under the head, maybe somewhere on the disk, and the total time taken to bring that particular data point which you want to access under this read write head, under the read write head, is called seek time. Okay. Now, another component, another important point is the response time. It is the total amount of time taken to respond to a request for service. Now you see, if you, there is a difference. It is the total amount of time taken to respond to a request for a service. If you have requested for something, if you have, let it be, you have requested to access this data, this point of the data. Okay, data stored on this sector. And you have made a request to the system that I want to fetch this data, read this data, and the time taken by this process system to respond to your request, maybe system may be busy somewhere with other functions, and the time taken to respond to your request means, it doesn't mean that it has responded to your request and it has fetched your data. No, it is the time taken by the system to respond. They have responded whether I want to I have yes, I will bring your data. The time taken to respond to your request, it has not completed your request, it has not completed your task of bringing that data, but it has just responded, because system may be busy somewhere working with other data. And yes, sometimes we say, I am busy, I'll come across to you, but I have responded to you, yes, I am there. So that is the time for this, that is called response time. Yeah, he has responded to my request, whether he is going to complete my work, it may be completing my work later on, but it has responded to me. Sometimes you have uh, requested for a data, but system has not responded to your request, whether to decline your request or to accept your request. So that is the time, it's called response time. Now, latency is there. Time to reach the desired sector under the read-write head as the disk spin over. This rotatory delay is known as latency. Now, time to reach the desired sector. Okay. Now, you were saying in the, if you have in the seek time was about reaching to the track. Now, latency is reaching to the sector, desired sector. Okay, if you want to, you see this, now this is seek time, you want to come to the proper track, because there are many tracks on the different platters, and you bring that track under your head to read the data, that is seek time. But when it comes to latency, latency is the time delay of reaching to the particular sector where your data is stored. If it may be sector this, but until and unless this sector is reached under the ARM head, that is read write head. Okay, so this is your latency. So delay in the, this is rotational delay, mean bringing the sector under the read write head is called latency. Now you are having another term called turnaround time. It is the time taken from the time of submission of a process to the time of completion of process. In simple words, time taken for waiting in the reading queue, execution on CPU, and executing input output. So I mean whole sort of process. So when you have submitted a process, when you have it's the time taken from a time of submission of a process to the time of completion of process. So there are a lot of things happening when you have submitted a process and to the time of completion of a process. When I say process, mean a task. If you have requested for something to the computer, when your process is submitted, if you have requested, but your process is not submitted yet. Requesting something and the actual processing of the thing, there's a difference between these two things. Okay, but when your process is submitted, and once it's submitted, and the time taken for its completion is called turnaround time. For this particular, for waiting in the queue request, because once your job is submitted, it may be, yes, it is submitted to the CPU, central processing unit. Now this processing unit can put that into waiting queues, because that whole lot of process, sometimes it has to wait, sometimes it has to be ready, sometimes it has to be running, and then it is suspended for some time, then further again it is being processed and allotted some time. So that is the whole exercise while we are working with the processes. So that waiting in the delay queue, thereafter execution on CPU, and executing input output, all these different things are happening, and process has to go through all these phases. So this whole lot of time between the submission of a process and the completion of a process is called turnaround time. So these are the terms associated with your hard disk and its functionality. If you have a thorough knowledge of these things, we can understand the functioning of the hard disk, which is very important. Okay, students, thank you.